You're really good at acting normal.
Yes, I'm weird. I'm doing weird stuff that I would never do in public. Never. And that was the chance to be myself.
Do right in public safely.
And then you see them like, what is going on? Now they're afraid because someone like
Right.
myself is on the road.
Slow down, Harold. There's a crazy man next to us.
All right, welcome to the New Age Human Podcast. This episode is part 2 of discovering your superpower with Mary Beth Robinson. So, yes, we reveal something embarrassing about myself. We also talk about trees and how they view humans from their perspective, and something about 100 monkeys. So just as a reminder, if you go and you want to join in on the conversation, head over to the Telegram channel and like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. So, without further ado, let's go.
So, you're built to do that. And the other thing about you is you are also made with tools. Like your voice is very soothing. Your energy is it's very accepting, very easy. You're lighthearted. You can bridge that gap between the ultra esoteric and the everyday.
Okay. And I do feel like I've picked up on that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that I listen to. I'm not sure if you're familiar with David Wilcock. He goes deep into the esoteric or the metaphysics.
Mm-hmm.
But to give you an idea of how much, he's one of those dense people where before he got into high school, I think he read like 300 books and kept going.
Yeah.
And then I would listen to him talk for 2 hours, just nonstop of just science, tech, forgotten science, this, and he breaks it down
Wow.
as far as the molecules and why this one proves that our whole system is wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just eating this. And then for me, I'm like, this is fascinating. I go and I share this with a friend or two that is into the same stuff. And they're like, I'm sorry, I can barely get through the first 10 minutes. It was just so dense. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Maybe, or at least I got the gist, and I'll help you with the gist. Right. And
That's it right there.
I think that's what you're talking
Yes,
about.
that's exactly it. Is, you know what? There are going to be people who really want to get into certain things. And then there are others who will be like, I heard John tell this story and I got it. Like no further research is needed. I got it on a deep level. Here we go.
I do have to say something, though.
Yeah.
The whole irony of what you're telling me right now. I remember being in a high school, junior high, and I would be the worst at telling stories. And I always wanted to tell a joke, and I would just botch the joke. It would just be horrible.
Right.
And it got to the point where it was more funny because I messed it up
Right.
than the actual joke. Before the punchline, people are laughing, and I'm like, I didn't say it yet. And they're
right.
like,
It's
okay.
not done.
It's okay. It's okay. And I'm like, all right, everybody's laughing. I'm dumb, I guess. I'm just, so it's interesting how that your challenges when you're younger turns into your strengths. And I see that being repeatable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
It's so interesting. I think it's kind of fascinating how we bother ourselves with being something we're not. Like for you, you're really good at acting normal.
This is great. This is great. This is great. Giggled. I like how you giggled first. Yes, I'm weird.
Right, totally. Right.
I make noises at home. I do sound effects. I make fart noises all the time. When everybody had to wear masks and I was just fed up with it, I would humor myself. So I would make faces at people under the mask, but my eyes would be
Right,
normal.
normal. So they
But
wouldn't know.
I'm doing weird stuff that I would never do in public. Never. And that was the chance to be
To
myself.
do right in public safely
Or
or at home.
driving, right? You can if you're driving, you're like on board, I make funny faces at random people, and then you see them like, what is going on? Now they're afraid because someone like
Right.
myself is on the road,
Slow down, Harold. There's a crazy man next to us.
right? Maybe that's how I control traffic, you know. That's my contribution on the road.
Oh
I
my
think. All
gosh.
right, so I digress.
Right. But,
Cool.
but you have found an outlet for expressing this, for researching it. But had you been in a different setting or had not been so committed to this and found other people this way, you might make it a huge priority to look normal,
Mm-hmm.
to just act like everything's great, everything's good. Yep, the kids are fine. Yeah, my lawn is great. Like you're good at it. That's not your superpower. We tend to overvalue our compensations. Like for me, I mean like an untethered balloon. Like my nickname was Mess. Mess. And I mean
Great.
like I was accomplished. I made great grades. I have a degree in math from college, and but but I was like, huh? Because I'm always like daydreaming.
Aloof.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm pretty connected with people,
You
but I'm
are.
also thank you. But I'm also like I could. So I never really got the deal with drugs and alcohol because I'm like, listen, I could go so much further in this mind than with anything else. Like
Hmm.
I just don't get it. I literally don't understand it. It's not like I disagree with it or think it's morally wrong or whatever. I'm just like, I don't under what? Why would you do that? Because I've got a mind that can do that on its own. So,
Mm-hmm.
but in compensation for that, I decided I needed to be really logical and organized. Like anyone cares if I'm logical and organized.
Oh, because you're considered a mess. So now
Yeah.
you overcompensate.
Right, totally. Yeah, and we do that. We do that all the time. Like, I need to be seen as this, or, if I could just get my body to look a certain way, or, whatever it is that we try to do and never accomplish, that's not what we should be putting our effort into. Like, I talked to this great woman who is an expert on money matters. And I was saying, I'm nervous about like really going more public with my superpower stuff because I don't have all my stuff together. And she's like, no one cares. And it was so great. It was the fastest conversation. She said, can you deliver the goods? And I said, absolutely, 100% of the time. And she said, that's all people care about. No one cares if your room is cleaned up, or if your finances are perfect, or if you can cook. No one cares. And it gave me such freedom. And it also was just another example of, wow, we expect ourselves to be a certain way. It's usually counter to how we actually are. And we hold on to that. And we spend our time and effort on that instead of what is our natural, like, what is our natural makeup? What were we constructed to do?
A couple thoughts come up, but one thing is when you help someone figure out what their unique talent is, what their
Yeah.
superpower is,
Mhm.
what happens to when once they figure that out and they start tapping into that and putting more energy into that, do you see any changes in their compensation persona in conversations with them? And
Yeah.
what does that look like?
People are more lit up for sure. Like they lighten up, and because we are usually just striving and striving and striving, and we're like, I've got to get there. And then when they realize I'm already here, I've already got this, and I'm actually giving myself time to do what I love, I'm just I have this natural health, natural joy, inspiration, enthusiasm for life. And I'm not so much about, let's push that boulder up the hill. So, but I usually work with people for a while, for at least a couple of months, because there's so much conditioning around things have to look this way and I should be this way. And so I basically, every time we get on the phone, I point out more of who they are and how amazing they are and how easy it is to actually put that into action. And I give them permission to be who they are. Just permission, 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 permission. And it sounds silly because why would we need permission to be ourselves? But in my experience, everyone does. And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper each time. But it's like the way we're trying to live life that's not working is so pervasive that we don't even see it either.
So let's pivot
Mhm.
to me asking you some questions about your clients that maybe there's a superpower that was very interesting to you that may not be so common do you have any story like that where it's like, wow, that was weird or
Yes. Yeah.
interesting, esoteric, metaphysical, something like that?
Right. They're all weird. I mean, in their own way. Like the deeper we go for you, nobody's ever probably said to you, you are the conduit by which the understanding of the old wisdom can be like sensed by people who are listening for things like that, right? That's kind of
No,
that,
nope, I haven't had the
right.
conversation
Nobody's
about that.
that, what color is your parachute didn't tell you that's what your profession should be. Right. No. So, but there was a person that I did a reading for, and it took me 3 months to be able to match my energy with his so that I could even do the reading. And
Wow.
that is saying something because that's my language. I'm like, oh yeah, got it. I'm like an Olympic athlete of energy. And he has Sequoia kind of energy, like the tree.
Isn't that a tree?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. So his energy is like old big tree energy. Like he sees things, he delights in birds and everything, but his energy is very slow and very constant and very eternal. I know,
Like those
right?
huge trees. Like he
Yeah,
sees like
that
one of those big trees.
exactly. Like a tree you could drive through, like, you know, the little thing at Yellowstone or where is it? The Muir Woods or wherever. But but that is the energy that he has. And he's like the keeper of knowledge and
So
he
I should have a
loves
conversation
knowledge.
with him.
You know, he might drive you crazy. I
Oh,
love him. But he is like, he reads research articles for fun. Like he's always kind of putting things together, but he calls, and he's a dear friend, he calls family, um, overhead, like not overhead. What is it? It's I just had it, but he calls it like, well, that's just extra. We don't really need that.
like family is extra.
Right. I mean, and he has really, he has good relationships with people and everything, and he's not antisocial, but he's just not one of those social people. He's kind of like, if you imagine a sequoia in a forest, they're like, I am, you know, and they've got their buddies who are around them. And yeah,
He doesn't bend for no one.
he really doesn't. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, he doesn't. And even when asked, does not do that. And so it's that was an interesting one because it took so long for me to be able to match that very because trees have different trees, but big trees have very low, slow energy. They have it. It's very strong. but it's not like an aspen that's got a more fluffy, energy.
And it makes the noise.
Right?
I think of them as like a steamroller, but that's kind of negative. But just how it does damage and it does its job really well. It just has to go very slow, and there's no stopping. You can't just hit the brake. Like it's gonna run over whatever it was gonna run over, and then
Right.
slow down.
Right.
Right?
Right. Right. It's just, yeah. And its power is like, I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep going up. I'm going to keep getting bigger. And it's just this amazing energy, but it's like not met. Humans have very fast energy compared to like forest energy. And we're so quick and da 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 da. And forests think we're so funny because they're like, they delight in us. Most forests do. Some forests are like, people, no, that is not going to happen. But other
Wait,
forests are like,
do you have conversations with forests? I feel like you have like conversations with trees. I'm getting that vibe.
you know what? Forests have, they have a life of their own. Businesses have lives of their own. Um, Houses have lives of their own. Cities have lives of their own. But forests include the trees, but they include everything else except water. Water is its own entity. And we're getting way off on a tangent here. But
I like it. I think they're gonna love it.
right. But forests are, there are certain forests who delight in people. They love people. They just are like, kind of like when, if we were sitting outside watching the birds and just being like, oh, they're so beautiful, and they're so, they're so tiny and they're so intricate and so varied. That's how the forest is with us. They're like, aren't they cute? Look at them. Oh my goodness, they're darling. They're just what is she wearing today? That is hilarious. Like, they love people and cats and dogs and stuff. But yeah. Sorry.
Until we cut them down, and then they're like, "Why? Why?"
Right.
But
Yes, yeah. And that is why some forests are like, nope, we've seen enough. We have seen enough.
that reminds me of The Happening. Did you see that movie?
I didn't. Is it a
Mm,
Stephen King thing?
mm, it's got that vibe. I wouldn't be
Okay.
surprised.
Okay.
The plants fight back.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are forests who do that. They'll just keep encroaching and encroaching, and finally they'll just envelop
Hmm. Interesting.
things that they're like, nope, not anymore.
Like a
Um,
like a sidewalk that's just got taken over by like
and then
weeds and
it's right,
stuff.
and then it's all, you
Right.
know. hmm
Those were the best to ride your bike over and just either, sink or swim. You just fly or you just keep
Right.
going around. You get that's where those were all the cuts, the bruises, and the scrapes come from.
Exactly. Right. From nature saying, "Oh, I don't think so."
I'm like,
But yeah.
I was gonna ask you, one of your clients, has there ever been one where you're like, I don't feel comfortable because I feel like this is a very dark
Yes.
superpower? Or
Um, I
and how
have
do you
not
manage that? Yeah.
yeah. I will know immediately if I'm not supposed to tune in with somebody. So, and by the time they're clients, I've already tuned in with them and I already know. So, I just kind of unconsciously do that. But there are some, like, I was watching this TV show and there is a reality show, and the leader, the spokesperson, I was like, "Oh, I wonder what that person's like." And my, I don't know, guardian angels were like, "Nope. Nope, nope, nope." And then I'm like, "But what if they're like, no?" And then I said, "But I could have, nope, nope, you are not to do that." And I said, "You know, this person doesn't feel so bad. And they said, yes, they're not, but they know people who are. And you don't want any part of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so this can go somewhere very interesting. Because there are certain industries that can be shrouded in darkness
The
and
music industry.
right. So are there certain industries that you just by default gear away from because you're going to get that constant block?
The music industry, interestingly, is one of them. Um, that I think they're just maybe a couple of people with very dark energy. Um, you would think I'd be like, oh, the gas industry or, the oil industry or whatever. But there's not one that I've come into contact with and I mean, not everybody wants me to find their superpower. And I don't mean that they're being secretive, but they're just like, no, not for me. Don't like it. Don't want to do that. That's not okay. And for some of them, it's maybe that they're hiding something from themselves
Hmm.
and they don't want to know. And of course, I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but so I don't get a lot of dark people. And I say dark people, people who have kind of developed dark energy. I believe that everybody in the world has a wonderful, world changing, positive superpower, but they can use it not so good. Like I did a reading for one of my friend's sons, and he has the gift of persuasion. He's very persuasive. And I told him, I'm like, you need to be careful with what you say because you can persuade people to do things that will make your ego feel good, but are not good for you and not good for them.
Hmm.
So, but again, most people don't like if it were a really gross industry, it wouldn't even enter my sphere.
Okay.
Like human trafficking, horrible, of course. But that's not something that comes by me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Hmm.
So I know we've been chatting for a little bit, and I would like to see, is there anything any last comments, maybe things that you wanted a listener that is curious about their superpower or some steps they can take? Is there anything that someone listening can do right now to start looking inside themselves and discovering their superpower?
Absolutely. I take people through a 5-step process, and my course is free. And if you'll just get on Twitter, I'm at Superpower Queen and Mary Beth Robinson, and you'll find me. And or Superpower Inc. That was kind of like, I thought that was kind of comic, like comic heroes, like,
Marvel Heroes
right.
Unite.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So superpowerinc.org, not .com. That's, I think, a power station in New Jersey. And that is not me.
That could be confusing. That can be
Yeah,
confusing.
right. I actually totally cracked up about that when I saw that. I'm like, you go place in New Jersey. Um, but um, but it'll be easy on my landing page to see here's my 5-day course, and that will give people a really good idea. And read my content on Twitter. I'll be on TikTok as like super.power.inc or no, super.power.queen.
Okay.
I'm so bad. Anyway, that will help you. But if you start asking people around you, what am I really good at? It'll at least get you started. When I asked people, they said, you're a teacher. And I'm like, I don't want to teach like in a grade school. Like that's too much input for me. But that is what I do. I
Okay.
teach people about who they are and how amazing they are.
Literally. And I
Yeah.
feel amazing, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of amazing people listening. So I appreciate you bringing those highlights, and everybody saw me be surprised as you're surprised as far as like the things that you were able to put together about what I do or what I have the capacity to do, which is to control 100 monkeys, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm thinking of like a monkey suit with like a cape and tight leather, and I think that's going to be my project tonight. I'm kidding. All right.
Right, exactly.
This is me trying to be normal.
Right. You're not that good at it.
No,
Just
fail,
kidding.
fail.
Fail. Not normal.
Well, thank you for coming out to the show. Lots of good laughs, lots of mind expansion going on. So I do appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.